Okay, well then, let's call to order this special meeting of the City Council for Lathrup Village. Can I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Mayor Garrett.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Here.
Councilmember Jennings. Councilmember Canez.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And I invite everyone that is here in the council to please say the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on today. Okay. My phone is calling 911 for some reason. Okay. Have approval of the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Have a second? It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yes.
Councilmember Canez.
Yes.
Councilmember Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes.
Motion carried to approve the agenda.
Thank you. And we do have the opportunity for public comment for items that's on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and this is for anything that's on the agenda. You can come to the microphone and state your name. You do not have to give the address. Is anyone that would like to speak? Thank you.
Ron Eichstadt, Redwood. I have 2 points. On page 16 of the budget memo, it states that the proposed budget is set to meet the goals of the city council. I believe that that should be changed to meet the goals of the 4,000 city residents and not the city council goals. Point number 2, I am opposed to the proposed 3% raise for city employees. In the past 3 years, the city employees have received 3 raises totaling 9%, which averages 3% per year. That's enough. Thank you.
Real quick, what was that? Is that in the first, second, or third pair? Is that in the conclusion?
What was that?
You're the one about the city council. Was that, I'm just trying to find it.
Oh,
Wait,
page 16.
Yeah, it's
The
in the
budget
third
menu.
paragraph under conclusion.
And is in the first, second, you said the third last one?
It's the second paragraph under conclusions.
I still don't see it, but
Oh, you know what?
I don't see
have
it.
it in mine either.
I don't see that.
16.
Yeah.
I don't have it in the it's not page 16 of your packet. It would be in your
Right, I'm looking at the
Your
conclusion
budget
for that.
amendment or your budget
Can you see that second?
itself.
I don't
So,
see it, but I'm
If
looking
you look
for it.
here,
No, I don't
it's
see
your
it.
page is there. Look for page 16.
Oh, so
Yeah,
it's
page 51.
51? Okay.
16. Oh, 51 in the packet. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see exactly what you are speaking.
It's under the recommended fiscal year 23-24 budget is based on the city's financial policies, the capital improvement plan, city council goals. That's where you would like that changed. In administration's comprehensive review of review of operations.
Okay, so this is the recommended fiscal year 2023-24 budget.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. And we'll go right to action requests for consideration and approval. First one is the special land use for 27701 Southfield Road, the event house.
Good evening, Mayor Garrett and members of the City Council. My name is Eric Peach with Giffords Webster, the city's planning consultant. The item on your agenda for 27701, the event house, is for a request for a special land use application. In the past, this application has received a variance from the ZBA back on April, I believe it was, April 17th, for the proposed establishment to receive extended hours of operation from 11 to midnight on Friday and Saturdays only, to which that variance request was granted. Secondly, the Planning Commission on May 16th considered a public hearing, which there were no comments at that public meeting. And so the Planning Commission recommended approval and for the application to be forwarded to City Council today for consideration of approval of the special land use. So again, this is the Event House, which is a banquet hall, which is not permitted within the ordinance within the district. And so it's allowed under the special land use. So there are a few items worth mentioning that you'll find in the review letter, the first being the solid waste. So there's an existing dumpster on the west side of the building that is an existing nonconformity due to the fact that the enclosure that surrounds the dumpster is not the 6-foot height that is required by the ordinance. And so the dumpster that's currently there somewhat peaks out above the height of the 5-foot fence or enclosure. But with that said, the Planning Commission issued a...
Sorry.
It's okay, it's okay.
Telling you, everyone's having Monday.
It's a day, it's Monday.
Monday and all day.
It's me.
First time I wasn't here.
I apologize.
Okay, sorry, one sec, go ahead.
The Planning Commission had issued a condition of approval that the, that screening of the existing dumpster be extended. There's existing plantings along the El Dorado Drive right-of-way. And so to alleviate some of the concerns about visibility of the dumpster, the Planning Commission issued a condition of approval to extend that existing landscaping an additional 30 feet to help soften the screening of the dumpster. And then a second condition of approval, the applicant had offered to reduce the height of the dumpster within the enclosure to help further screen the solid waste disposal on the property. The second item to address is the off-street parking. So every time that we have a change of use, we want to make sure that the proposed use meets the parking requirements. So this building has 2 tenant spaces. The first, which is occupied by the FedEx retail space. The total together require 75 parking spaces, 25 spaces for the FedEx tenant, and 50 spaces for the proposed special use event center. So initially there's 85 parking spaces that are existing on site, but as we analyze the parking situation and the requirements of the ordinance, this particular site requires a loading zone, and so the applicant got creative and designated a spot where there's 3 parking spaces that will be removed or restriped so that it can accommodate for the 10 by 40 foot delivery space. And as a result, the site will have 7 additional spaces. So from 85 spaces down to 82, they're still over by 7 parking spaces. The landscaping, there's no additional landscaping required simply because they're not extending any additional square footage. They're not proposing any new parking spaces. Those 2 items would require additional landscaping, but other than the condition of approval for the enhanced screening on El Dorado, the applicant is not proposing any additional landscaping at this time. So then in general, given this is an existing site and no new construction is proposed, the standards for development under the ordinance are met since the building is not changing in any measurable way. And then the 8 standards for special land use approval, they're outlined in the letter at the end of the letter for your reference. These 8 standards are reasonable use, conformity with other regulations of the city, location, intensity, and periods of operation, the use, as and where proposed must not be inconsistent with the spirit and purposes of the ordinance, the use's character and adverse effects on neighbors, the use must not diminish the fair market value of neighboring lands or buildings, the site design, and demonstrated need. So upon completion of our review, we find that the proposed use is in keeping with the spirit of the ordinance. We did look at any negative impacts that could potentially be taken into consideration. Those especially being parking and screening, and we believe that the applicant has addressed those, particularly with the condition of approval with the Planning Commission in May. So that concludes my presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. The applicant is also here to shed some more details on their proposed use.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. So I know you were talking about beefing up the landscaping to cover up the trash. I'm curious, and you said how many feet were they going to extend it to?
So the Planning Commission agreed to extend the existing screening, which consists of, I believe, arborvitae or something that's similar as an evergreen use, to basically extend that existing condition an additional 30 feet.
Okay.
To help screen from the right-of-way and from the adjacent property owners on the other side of El Dorado.
And that number was determined to put it past the enclosure.
Correct.
Let me ask my question.
Telling you, the
All right.
planning commission liaison.
Okay, let me just ask
Yeah,
my
let-
question. All right. So is it possible for that to be extended just to close it off in general?
We had originally made supporting comments to extend it the full length, but with the deliberation of the Planning Commission at the time, the agreement was made to extend it 30 feet. So that is something that the City Council can take issue with, address, enhance, but like I said, the applicant is here if that should be the request of the
Can you
City
give me
Council.
2 seconds? The Facebook feed, they can't hear anything on the Facebook feed. Okay. Sorry. Okay, Jalen, go ahead.
So I think, like, as a council, I think we should consider proposing that they just enclose the back space with the arborvitaes. That's what I would like to see.
Are you talking about the backspace here, or are you talking about around the dumpster?
Right here.
So that's not, we're talking about just the screening of the dumpsters, right?
Right, the extension of the screening as a condition of approval is an additional 30 feet, and that was intended to screen the dumpster itself, not particularly
Not
the
the-
rest
the
of the
back.
site.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So that has nothing, the screening in the back of the building has nothing to do with the current applicant. That has everything to do with the person who owns the building, which would go fall onto Surnow.
Correct.
So that
Is there
should
still
not,
some, okay, but, okay, I'll have a different discussion then. Okay, thank you.
so I mean, I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that for that screening in the back, for the residents, I get where you might be going with this, has nothing to do with this resident, and that's something that we would have to take up
This
with
owner.
this gentleman that might be sitting right there.
Mayor, if
Yes.
I may, the applicant in this particular case is actually a Surnow company. Under their, so they are the
Town hall.
applicant in this regard.
Well, come on up so we can talk to you about it then. Sorry.
Thank you, Susie.
Hello, Mayor Garrett and Council. Thank you. And Councilman Jennings, thank you very much for your question. So to address your question, screening would be very important for residents who have visibility to the dumpster. And today, the arborvitae only goes to the point where the dumpster is. So once you're off of that angle a little bit, or you're the next house down, you're seeing dumpster again. And so in collaboration with the Planning Commission, we balanced adding more screening so that as you go down the street, you're still blocking dumpster visibility against the other interest of the people who live nearby and throughout the town of keeping the city open without having walls that block off visibility to commercial areas or parking areas or access to commercial areas or parking areas. The idea being because we want to make sure that there's lots of visibility. It helps the area feel like one contiguous area. It helps the area be safe if there aren't those visual blockers where they're not absolutely needed. And so 30 feet was chosen as that right amount to go further to block those angles. And if you'd allow me to add one more thing as well, there was also the issue of making sure that we make an investment, that those arborvitae are adequate. We didn't want to just buy off the shelf. We are electing mature arborvitae to create that screening effect on day one. So we have contracted with Great Oaks, which is arguably the #1 landscaper here in Metro Detroit, and we have accepted a bid from them for $4,100 to place those additional 30 feet of arborvitae, including that's the nursery time because they grow them up at their nursery. Sounds like a lot for 30 feet of arborvitae.
Right.
But if you take a look, for instance, today at Sunset West, our property with Ashley Stewart or other properties, you see the beautiful work that's all Great Oaks landscaping. And so doing 30 feet right seems like to us, and in consultation with the Planning Commission, that correct balance for those competing interests of citizens and users between more visibility and access versus more screening.
Okay, thank you. Did you guys, by chance, say the name of the Great Oaks? Okay. Did they provide you with like with the document showing what it would look like maybe a visual document?
No, they did not.
Okay.
And I do have a question aside from this particular applicant. I thought there was something before where this was supposed to be filled in with another, it was another plan or something?
Oh, I think you might be thinking of the Panera site, maybe, Mayor Garrett, next door, where we also wanted to make sure that dumpster enclosure and visibility for the neighbors was addressed.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll stay on this one. Thank you.
I just have a quick question. Just for sake of looking at what we're looking at now, do you have 6 more trees coming?
I believe it is 6.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe add 6 to that and see how far that'll go. I think you'll get some decent screening out of it.
You're talking about the same thing, right? You're
Yeah,
talking about the
so
berm,
yeah,
or we're
just-
talking about the enclosure?
No,
So-
yeah, so if you look at 6 of these, just
Before we
picture
get
6 more.
Just not
Right.
to interrupt, but before we get too far ahead, because there are no exterior modifications, as Eric had stated, we can't make
That's what I
planning
was
the additional landscaping a condition of the approval. If the owner agrees to it, that's an agreement, a commitment from the owner, which is what the owner and the planning commission had agreed upon at their last meeting. It's not an appropriate condition to be making as part of this. In other words, you can't tell the applicants that they can't have their interior use unless there's, whatever, X number of landscaping.
Oh, no, I was just
trees.
trying to get a visual, how much further it's going.
Okay, I know,
But
before,
see,
we were
that's,
talking about
but that's
making
what I
it
was
so-
trying to
yeah,
ask
so I
in the
just-
first place when I was saying what you're asking about the screening has nothing to do with this current applicant. That's what my question was in the first place,
Well,
because we're talking about the berm.
Yeah, the applicant is the Town Hall Investments,
Yeah.
which is the Surnow Company's
Right.
holding company for that entity, but the end user, the event space is not going to be, I don't think you're partnered with Town Hall Investments, are you? No, okay.
But that was my original question, is that what's up for us to talk about is the enclosure around the dumpster, not where the berm is.
It's
That's my
really not
question.
even that. It's, I mean, like I said, the commitments that were made from the property owner at the planning commission meeting, those were commitments that the city are non-binding. They can't enforce them against them. It was a good faith commitment from the property owner in interest of moving this forward and addressing some of the concerns with the residents, that the residents had brought up at the ZBA meeting. They also mentioned, and I don't know if this didn't make it into Eric's presentation, but I had noted that the applicant had committed to having on-site security and crowd control that I thought should be, now that is something that, because that deals specifically with the use and the concerns of a large number of people leaving at late hours in the evening out into the community, that's something that they had committed to providing. And I think they indicated they have a service at their other location that provides that, or a group that provides that service at their other location. So that was the only thing I was going to add to Eric. So
sorry. Yeah,
Thank you.
this is not the appropriate time, but we will be calling you back for that.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I have some questions, but I'm not sure who will answer. Now, it says it's 150 people. Is that the max that's allowed in that space per fire code?
Thank you for that question, Councilwoman Miller. The fire code allows 150 people. I don't know if it allows more. However, the lease and the tenant's operations are both restricted to 150 people.
Okay. All right, then I have a question about the parking. Now, it says 50 spaces for 150 people, assuming that 3 people come together. What are the chances that people are going to be coming to events by threes? I mean, so I'm wondering, where will the overflow go, if there is overflow? And the impact of Panera, because I'm assuming Panera is still going to be there for a while until your new building is opened. And so how is that, I mean, you know, people are kind of parking all over the place now.
Right.
So I'm just wondering how
Right.
that's all going to be managed.
So my apologies for mentioning Panera. Panera is currently 2 doors down and is moving 1 door down. The current building has 2 tenants, FedEx, who will stay in place, and then a vacancy today, which will become the event house. So we also know, and this adds validity to your question, we also know that the building is cross-parked or has a driveway that connects to the adjacent building, the one that has Panera. Oh, yes, correct. So
The one who has
Current
that
Panera.
currently
Yeah.
has Panera, correct.
Okay.
So in the configuration we'll see soon, Panera will go to what was the bank. And so we'll have a vacancy there, which hopefully will fill quickly. And I would imagine with, I would hope, another great eatery perhaps. So yes, you'd always have a busy property there. Here's the key. FedEx tends to be busiest around 10 a.m., a little bit at noon, versus the event house, who will be busiest in the evenings and especially weekends. So we would envision that while there's some variance when ordinance sets this 50 spaces to accommodate 150 people, it's making kind of an average assumption. We'll probably end up winners on that, because in the evening, those folks can park in FedEx's parking spaces too, if those spaces were needed.
Okay, so there won't be signs up. I remember when the clothing store was there were signs, only parking for this establishment. Are there plans for that?
No, there are
Who
no
would do-
plans for that
Okay.
only parking sign.
Okay. And then what about, well, I guess there isn't really access to, well, there kind of is. Street parking, people parking behind on, behind the berm. Is there anything going to be done to prevent that or accommodate that, or I guess that's a city thing?
Now, that's an appropriate condition to make as part of the special land use, that there be no on-street parking. So if there were to come a point in the future that there was a violation of one of these conditions, council would send notice to the applicant and that they are potentially in violation, and they'd have to come before council and show cause why they shouldn't lose that special land use permission. So that is an appropriate condition, and one that I would recommend including.
Okay, I would like to include that. And then it says, I think there was four staff members or something. What does staffing look like for an event? I mean, I know you probably have servers and that kind of thing. How does that increase? What kind of, spaces would they, would they take up then?
Thank you. I'll
Thank
turn
you.
over the microphone to our tenant.
Hello, everybody. I'm Melissa Thomas, owner of the Event House. And to answer your question, so you would have the main person, which would be probably myself, right, on site for the event. You also have the janitorial staff, which will keep the restrooms cleaned and stocked throughout the duration of the event. You're looking at one person because it's only 3 restrooms, so not a whole lot there. The catering staff actually is, my partner is the in-house catering, so they'll be bringing that food already pre-prepared from their location. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
served, and then we clear the tables, so they won't be staying. So that staff, my janitorial staff, will keep everything clean and stocked, and then you'll have your security, of course, and they'll be in that parking lot.
Okay. And then my last question is about the alcohol. It says the applicant states there will be no liquor license sought for this purpose. Will it be BYOB? Will the
No.
caterer be bringing things in?
So that's a
What?
great question. Thank you, right? So similar to how I do it at Eastern Market, only nonprofits are able to apply for for liquor licenses. It's a one-day event, right? So if you have a fundraiser, you want to raise funds for a scholarship fair, right? You would pull your own one-day event liquor license from the MLCC. Now, current weddings, things of that nature, there's no money exchanging hands, so there's no liquor license needed for that. It's just regular dinner, wine with dinner. There's no money in exchange for that. However, we also will have licensed bartenders on site serving. So no, it's no BYOB. It has to be served from a bar to make sure no one's being overserved. And it's just no money exchanging hands, which is why you don't need a liquor license.
Okay. And then as far as the nonprofits requesting a license, would that be done through your organization, through the caterer, through the city?
Actually,
How
the
does that work?
nonprofit itself has to apply for the
Through-
license.
Directly to the state?
Directly to the state. So
Okay.
I do it all the time, so I tell my clients, don't worry, I'll walk you through the process.
Okay.
It costs
Okay.
them a little less than $300, but in the grand scheme of things, if you're, raising money for a scholarship to be able to pay $300 and keep the money from the bar, it's a good,
Yeah,
so they'll actually have to apply for themselves.
okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
every event, just so you know, will have to have their own event insurance. So they all will come with their own one-day event insurance as well, so just.
And then what kind of insurance are you required to carry, or is that through, Cerno carries it?
No,
Or-
we'll have our own, as leases, as tenants, we'll have our own insurance as well on
Okay.
site. Yeah.
Okay,
And then the building is insured by landlord for property insurance and liability
okay,
insurance.
Yeah.
perfect, okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
thanks.
Any other questions? Someone can make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan review and, to approve the special land use for 27701 Southfield Road with the provision of no on-street parking and the security, provided security that was omitted from the letter.
Is there a
Second.
second? It's been moved to second. Is there any
Do
further
you need to be more
discussion?
specific?
I was just gonna say,
Oh, adding,
yeah, typically you would include things like daily site trash pickup.
Oh, am I laxing in my duty?
You're slacking.
Oh, sorry, and with my standard provision on every special land use that there is daily trash pickup in the confines of the tenant space.
and no off-site parking.
I said that.
Oh, you did,
Yeah.
And it's been seconded again, right?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Canes,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes,
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
motion carries.
thank you. Next, we'll have the Community Block Grant Cooperation Agreement.
Okay, I'm gonna let you actually introduce this, Kelda, because
To continue to participate in the Urban Counties Community Development Block
Thank you.
Grant Program, we have to extend our contract for an additional 3 years, for the next 3 years. And so it just, we just need a resolution in the minutes that says council has approved that.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I couldn't hear Kelda, I'm sorry.
To continue to participate in the Community Development Urban Counties Block Grant Program, we have to extend our contract for an additional 3 years. And so we need a resolution in the minutes that says council approved that extension.
And-
It's signed by me, but approved by council.
And this is for the $7,000 grant?
Yes. Or
And,
whatever it is going forward.
and each year we get to determine what it is? We just have, we're
No.
agreeing to participate?
We're just agreeing to participate.
Right, and we can determine where it goes each year?
Correct.
Okay,
We will be able to continue to.
within limitation, it still has to go with
right,
right.
right.
what it's,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
the services that are covered by it, or that it covers.
Right, more than luncheons, right.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the extension of the Community Development Block Grant Program for the next 3 years.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Canes?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Garrett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next up is the cost participation agreement.
Okay, Oakland County Board of Commissioners has established a local road improvement matching fund program that helps communities and villages within the county to be able to provide improvements on local roads, improving economic development in those areas. And the program offers limited funds for specific road maintenance or improvements on the roads within Oakland County. They do require a 50% match, and they have allotted and approved $24,614 toward resurfacing Sunset Drive under the Local Road Improvement Matching Fund Program. It's a lot to say in one breath. Therefore, the city has to put a motion together and approve that they will participate by designating $24,614 to be taken from the local road fund account and provide the required 50% match and designate the city administrator to sign the necessary forms, which are in your packet.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve $26,614.
$24,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. $24,614 be taken from the local road fund to provide the required 50% match and designate the city administrator to sign the necessary forms.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, just one question on this one, kind of getting a little into the specifics, but I just wanted to verify. We're taking the $24,000 from essentially money we were already spending from the millage as opposed to taking additional
Correct.
$24,000 from the local road fund.
However it comes through, wherever we have that, it's from the local road
It's not
fund.
an
so-
additional, it's what we've
No.
already
No.
spent, yeah, okay, that's all I have.
Is it referring to the Sunset here that we just paved? That part of Sunset, is that what's qualifying? The one next to where Panera's gonna be?
This, it could be, it's just the reimbursement portion of that. This is the language that I received this week, that's why I stuck it in this packet, designated Sunset Boulevard, so,
I was gonna say, because I think it's already done.
right.
All right.
Because I'm wondering how does paving Sunset Boulevard, which is already done, how does it improve economic development? And the grant says, the community acknowledges that the program is meant to supplement and not replace funding for existing road programs or projects. So it's obviously an existing road project, because it's already done. So I'm wondering how this even fits into this grant.
Well, the supplement would be that we'd be able to use that money, that $24,612, somewhere else in the city. So that's the supplement that provides that funding to cover other projects that we are doing.
But it says it's for Sunset.
Yes, so that work has been completed already, but the money that we would put towards this, we can use, it's taking money from here and putting money here, but it gives us the same benefit. You know, if we don't do that, then we lose that funding from the county.
Well, I get that, but it doesn't look like we're meeting the grant requirements. And again, how does it encourage and assist businesses to locate and expand within Oakland County?
We could certainly pick another road. That's possible too, right? With the local road improvement program funding.
And part of that economic development is, you know, bolstering the ability to get from point A to point B. You've got to have good road surfaces in order to do that. This is just how the county is providing that funding. Those would be great questions to ask the county commissioners to explain. I think that would be wonderful, but being able to have good roads to traverse in order to get to businesses or to residents so that they can drive elsewhere to their jobs and come back into the community and spend their dollars, that's part of economic development as well.
Okay, still doesn't answer the question about the replacing funding for existing road programs or projects, because it kind of is. And it said that in multiple places. It's meant to supplement, not replace.
It's not replacing, it is supplementing, though, because you can take those dollars that have already been spent and spend them somewhere else. So it's not a replacement where we're not going to use that money to do
But it
other
says
road
it's being
projects,
used
so.
toward resurfacing Sunset Drive under the local road improvement matching fund program. So was this applied for, was the grant applied for, saying it was going to be used for Sunset, or for Sunset Drive? Because there's usually kind of, definite set requirements for grant money.
There's a list of communities in the back of this document.
Susan, I'm
I know
talking
it's kinda
about your
hard.
council communication on page 22. The program
If I
offers
may
limited
continue?
funds.
May I please continue? There's a list of other communities in the program that they give the distribution formula. This is how Oakland County sets up their money. It's not a grant you apply for, it's something that they provide to each of these communities. And this is the breakdown of what Lathrup Village can or may choose not to participate with. As Susie Steck stated, we can change the road. It's basically accepting the dollar amount that they have designated for the city in order to continue improving our local roads and that funding and providing that match.
So the city didn't have to submit something to Oakland County saying we're going to use this $24,614 on Sunset Drive?
Correct. To my knowledge,
It's the required match.
it's,
Yeah, it appears as that it was based on population, on the attachments from them, is that each community in Oakland County was given a certain,
percentage-wise,
well,
yeah.
the minimum is
Yeah.
what appears to have been given to each community.
Right.
And it also does include in there kind of a catch-all caveat that it could be for any public improvement, so I think.
It does. So then we need to rewrite this Sunset Drive thing, because if Sunset Drive doesn't even meet the
Well,
requirements
the
of
motion
this.
doesn't include a name of a street.
Okay, well,
No, the motion at the bottom does not, but that was the language that was in the document that was sent to me.
from the county.
You know, so it's something that can be changed, as Scott has stipulated, it can be used for any local road
And
project.
we know that it can be, because if they sent this to you, someone from here said, we're using this on Sunset Drive. They wouldn't know Sunset Drive from any other street in Lathrup Village, so.
I did not fill out a grant request for this project.
The question is how did they come up with resurfacing of Sunset Drive? Why is that
That I
specified
don't,
on that? Okay.
I do not
So
know
that's
that
what we try to
answer.
find out. Is there a way that having this particular cost participation agreement take out resurfacing of Sunset Drive plus within the business card, resolution to take that out of it? Or what is it that we need to do? I get what they're saying, and the fact is that it appears to limit us to resurfacing of Sunset because that is what is in writing.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I may, okay, so I've been communicating with Mr. Ringler. So, yes, we could have picked any road. There are, while we do have roads that still need to be, repaved or resurfaced, this particular set of funds, drives me crazy, I can't see everybody. These funds do have to be used in this year. So it was applied for Sunset.
So somebody did apply for it and put in Sunset?
Yes, so
Okay,
and
that's established.
so we know that it was applied for Sunset. We would need approval from the county to change where these funds are being allocated. So we can use these funds here.
So let me ask you this question before you go on. So what you're saying is that if it's approved this way, what I'm hearing is that it's only approved for Sunset and that we would have to get approval from the county to be able to change to a different street.
That is my understanding.
So it would behoove us to get the approval beforehand before we take this motion up.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
And if they are aware that Sunset has already been paved and was part of our original paving program, they need to know that piece.
Is there any
So-
way we can call Scott Ringler? Because I suspect, based on past history,
She's talking to us.
she's texting him. I'm wondering if we could call him and
I'm
talk
wondering
to
if we
him
can
right
just table it because,
Yeah.
I mean, going
Well-
it through the phone, and I thought we can't do electronic conversations and stuff, so that's.
now. He can't participate in the
Okay.
meeting as a voting member, but you can consult with him if you. The concern I have is that by delaying it, that you may lose the ability to collect these funds and spend them in this calendar year.
But my concern is also that, as I'm hearing from the other two council members, is if we go with this, is it limiting us to being done with Sunset? And it sounds like, I mean, this is how I'm hearing it, is that you have to go through the county to be able to get approved to be able to not use it on Sunset, and going through the bureaucracy, you know what I'm trying to say, through the county, that might take even longer when we can correct it on the front end. That's where my concern.
Well, that's what that's why I want to confirm with Mr. Ringler, but I suspect that he probably applied for this well before Sunset was paved. And just understanding how long sometimes these things take to materialize, that the application probably was made well before the road was paved.
Right, but did we allocate and did we approve funding for paving Sunset Boulevard as a council? I believe that we did.
You did,
So that would be,
but as Sue indicated, by receiving a reimbursement or matching funds from the county, that then frees up those dollars to utilize on another project.
I understand, but
It's
there
still,
are,
this project is still a project that would have been completed during the calendar year. It's still a project that has a public benefit, so I think it would still meet the criteria, but again, I just would like to confirm.
but it says cannot replace funding for existing road programs. This was an existing road program. When did we approve Sunset?
But if this was something that was applied for as a project, that's the funding that is being sought, or partial of that funding, so it's not just willy-nilly choosing a street, it's,
I'm not so concerned about the choosing of the street. I'm concerned about switching the street. Are we being is it stuck, just because of the writing of this particular agreement? Are we stuck, and what do we have to go through with changing the street? That's what my question is.
Yeah, I don't remember voting on it and then it being said, we've applied for a grant for this much and,
I don't know if it was so much applying for a grant or just claiming your share of state shared revenue. 'Cause
Okay,
that's where
well-
the funding for the county came from.
Right, but there still are requirements. There are requirements for matching fund programs, there are requirements for grants. And so, to me, this seems like a blatant violation of one requirement, so.
No, I don't know about a violation, but the only thing is that my question is if you can switch where the money goes. And that's where I don't feel like I see that. And that's where,
Right,
My
I'm
question-
all
I
for
don't see why we
taking
need
the
to switch where it goes.
24,000, I'm
What?
all for taking it.
I'm confused as to why you think we need to switch where it goes.
because it's already being done. That's what, I mean,
It's already
Sunset is
done.
already
Right,
being
but
done.
as Scott indicated, it would have been applied for previously for a future project, which is now taking place. I mean, to me, this seems like any other, match program that's come before us. It doesn't seem any different to me.
It would if it didn't refer specifically to Sunset Drive, so.
It's saying in here too that there's no obligation on behalf of the board that the either fund a project or a program. It can be an ongoing annual program,
Right.
would be part of, which has allocated funds from city sources anyways. I don't anticipate it being a problem, but like I said, I would like to just confirm.
I think, and that's all that I'm asking for, is to confirm that, because right now it's saying something specifically. And that's what I think it needs to be confirmed. That's what I thought, but we can take the motion and see what happens.
I think
Sounds like Susie's on the phone with me.
Yes.
So I guess we can put this on pause until we find out with that, and so we can move on to staffing and salary discussion.
Okay, if you'll take a packet that is paper clipped and pass it down. Okay, pulled Pam's job description, pulled her, put together a little spreadsheet on the last page showing how many employees we've had, both in the administration and public safety departments. Just to kind of go through this, one of the things that we say a lot is how much work Pam does. And I put up on the very top, she generally works 60 hours or more a week and takes stuff home with her on the weekends just to try to keep her nose above water. That's not getting everything done, that's just surviving where she's at due to the load that she has there. And if you look at the different things that she does, she's a treasurer and she does HR for us here. And then there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff that also takes her time. But there's a real need, even with a deputy treasurer, there's a need for another body downstairs to handle some of the the clerical stuff, the administrative secretary stuff, or administrative assistance stuff. So I just wanted to put this together for you and show that we have fluctuated. Back in 16, 17, we had 16 total employees. There were 7 on the administrative side, 9 in public safety. Some of these were just primarily budgeted for, but were not completely filled. I think that, during 2021 and 2022, there were 10 people on the administration side This last year, we've been down to 7.5. I put half in there because we've had employees start halfway through the fiscal year, so it's hard to count them as a full employee. That has brought us up to where we're at right now. Unfortunately, I have to inform you all that our code enforcement officer has accepted a position with another community and will be leaving to be their DPW director. His last day is the 15th of this month, so we will be down another person. I have had some good candidates apply already, so I'm excited about that. But that still, again, continues to put us behind the 8 ball. So asking a person to give 60 hours a week for a position, and that's not counting her evenings that she takes stuff home or her weekends that she takes stuff home. She's done that for years. Specifically, the last 3 or 4 years have been incredibly difficult for her in the amount of work that she's doing. I just wanted to show some of the stressors in staffing that we deal with and bring that to your attention.
I asked at one of the previous meetings about the assistant treasurer and how that has helped, and Pam said she's still being trained. I think that's been about 9 or 10 months. I'm wondering, you know, I thought that position was supposed to relieve her, and then we have a billing person, accounts payable person. So that, neither of those positions has helped to relieve any of the load?
Not in what Pam does every single day, no. In journal entries, Pam is still preparing the journal entries, but then Jessica uploads them. There's quite a lot to take on when you have a certain amount of experience behind the position for the deputy treasurer, but everything that we needed her to be, that's what Pam has been helping to train her. And that's been something that in the past few deputy treasurers that have been hired, that has been something that Pam has done throughout that entire process. So.
Memorial benches, memorial plaques, is that something that happens a lot?
These are miscellaneous things. Things that are not her job responsibility, yet she was the person that got tasked with doing it.
Oh, okay.
You know, the miscellaneous stuff, it's not the things that are even part of her job description, but she picks up wherever.
Well, technically, from this miscellaneous stuff, I feel as though that can be taken off of her plate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but where else do I put it?
To
know,
you.
That's,
Because it's the reason why that she was the IT person into the heating cooling person and then the kitchen supervisors, because she was stepping in. The only reason she had it was because she was stepping in as the interim city manager at that time. That's the only reason why she has that stuff.
As well as
Add
the tank.
additional-
Because
add
when
additional
before
pay.
her, the sanitary retention tank was Jeff Mueller did it, Matt did it, the city manager.
well, I
actually did.
am the person, I am the regular board person on the sanitary retention. That is mine. She only fills in for me if
No,
I can't be there.
She's referring to, she ran the tank.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we
The
don't do
city-
that anymore. The
right.
county does that now.
Right,
So-
she was-
But this one can be, I mean, she's an alternate, but that can basically be taken off because you would be the person that would take that, do that.
But she's still the alternate if I can't make the meeting.
Is
Then,
that often?
No, that is not often, but things happen, you know.
or can we give it to someone else to do that? What's the mandatory, what is the requirements for that person to be the alternate member?
I do call upon Ashley from HRC as well to fill in. There have been a few times that she has had to go when I've had conflicts in my schedule.
No,
and
I'm
could not
asking,
make
what
it.
is the requirements for you to be an alternate member of this board? What's the requirements of it? Why does it have
Just-
to be Pam? That's my
Because
question.
Pam had the knowledge. It doesn't have
Oh,
to be
okay.
Pam. It doesn't have to be Pam.
So we can take that, like I said, that can be taken off of her plate.
probably multiple things on there. Maybe is it a delegation?
The whole thing is, I totally get that Pam is the one that has all of the knowledge, but someone else is going to have to
Learn it.
learn it and take over. And the only way to me that you're going to learn something, besides going to training, is to be doing the job.
Right,
And
and
so,
now's the time.
like, in just under the miscellaneous stuff, the majority of that can be taken off of her plate. And let's be very, very clear with Pam, who I love. Don't get me wrong. Pam takes on a lot more and does not let go of it. And so someone has to
So
help her to let
delegating.
go of some of the stuff.
Yeah, now's the time to be doing this.
And so, this is gonna be a hard conversation, but, the reason why I asked for this to be on there is because the emails, the conversations that we keep having is, we're short-staffed. Unfortunately, when I look at this in my face now and know what services that we're getting, I truly would like to have a report of what each person, I thought that's what we kind of talked about, is for each position here in the city, what each person does and their responsibilities, not what they're doing, but what they're expected to do. Because how is it that we only had 8 people from 2017 to 2020 and we got stuff done, and we had 10 people from 20 to 2022, and now we are falling into, we can't get stuff done because we're short-staffed. And that's what I'm
I
saying.
think the biggest thing that we're missing is the recreation portion of that. And that is restructuring that I need to seriously look at where those job duties can fall.
Right.
in
So
the
you have everything
organization,
besides the
because it's not
recreation?
just- I'm sorry, what?
You have everything besides the recreation piece? Everything put together about who does what?
I have all the job descriptions, it's just we don't have the body in recreation. We don't have the person filling that position specifically.
So what I think she's saying is, do you have like everybody else's job descriptions?
One of these for every employee.
I have, to my knowledge, on Friday or Thursday when whatever day we talked, this was all I was asked to bring and to put this together. I don't remember.
The one thing that we talked about on Thursday was to have how many, since 2017, how many people were working here and how many people are now. But I've been asking for, I think since, I don't know, I'm not gonna go back that far, but for each description.
Right.
Because the one thing, in order for council to approve a new position or to approve hiring new people, is to show the work of what is needed. And this one for Pam was just simply because Pam's talking about retiring, and we need to figure out how to delegate her responsibilities to other people so we can get a treasurer on. It wasn't specific to Pam.
No, I understand that.
So this
Yeah, I
is,
mean,
oh, go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
was just saying, and, what I'd like to see, actually, I mean, this is great showing what Pam does, but not necessarily the job description. I want to know what they're doing, because people aren't always doing what's, like, this is a classic case. I mean, a lot of this stuff isn't in her job description, but this gives a much more rounded picture of what she's doing.
And is this stuff that is being delegated to Pam, or is this what Pam took on? So those are two different things also, because these should actually bump up to what this says, right?
Or we need to, it needs to be melded together a little bit better. This is, when I got this, I sat down and I asked Pam and I wrote out everything she told me she was doing. So this is what I put together from that.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought, that this came from what she said, but I want to see what each person, their responsibility, what they're being actually evaluated on each year of what they're supposed to be doing. Because I also know Pam, and Pam takes on, if somebody else is not doing it, she's gonna do it.
Yeah, I think having like Jessica's with this would help, because we could see like what all is Jessica doing and where can
Also the
Pam
AP
help.
person.
Like, where can Pam help her take off some of her load? because
We also keep hearing residents complaining about things not being done. I don't know when the last time looked at what jobs are being done and how does that align with the needs of residents and the needs of the community, because sometimes there's things that are being done that, you know, don't make a difference to the community. Things that, yeah, there are things that are required by the state, by federal government, all of those things, but, you know, what are the priorities of the community and how do those jobs fit those requirements? Somehow that got off track in the last few years. I know there was a lot of realigning and kind of melding of different positions, and now it's kind of unclear about who's supposed to be responsible for what. So how do you hold someone accountable for things if it's not clearly laid out with the expectations?
So we have to do the staffing salary discussion and figuring out how to, we're losing too many people. It's been a turnstile with how many people are coming in and out, which concerns me because it makes me wonder, what is it? Because there has to be something that people aren't happy, and it's not always money that people leave jobs. And so needing to know what that is, we need to know what the people are doing, because then I do agree, I don't understand why we would do a 3% raise when we really don't have a clue of what everyone's doing and we can't show the work of what's needed. And that's one thing that I keep saying, that we gotta show the work of what each person's doing to show the need for the increase, but also to show the need for the additional bodies. That makes sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I would add to that, I mean, for 6 years, I've kind of wanted to see, you know, on one hand, you've got the resources that it takes to get all the things done that we do as a city. And that has to be quantified. And, you know, I mean, which is going to require looking at every single job, what are the, you know, very much like this, but putting times next to it, and then doing that for every position and saying, this is the amount of resources that we need to do everything that we need to do. And that includes everything, including the things that aren't getting done that we know aren't getting done. And then on the other side, we look and say, okay, now we've got, you know, 8 FTEs, and this is 11 FTEs of work. How do we align those two? So what we need is, or at least what I want to see anyways, I wanted to see, like I said, for 6 years, is a resource analysis. You know, here's our resources that we have, here's what has to be done in terms of hard numbers, and align them. And then once we have that, we can figure out how we can, you know, prioritize and get things done. And Sue, you know, I know you and I had a private email exchange earlier today, and that's kind of what or a couple days ago, and that's kind of what I was getting at is what I want to see is, what do you need, right? I mean, what do you need to make all this, you know, the complaints, and again, these complaints have been going on for the 6 years that I've been here, you know, to make it stop. How do we right size? How do we get a proper amount of resources to get the things done that we need to get done? And by doing that as well, we're going to probably find things on that we're doing that we don't need to do.
Absolutely.
Or that are really low priority, that we could be taking those resources and putting them more towards higher priority things. But we can't do that until we have a resource analysis of, you know, one side, here's our resources, the other side, here's what we need to do, and then try to align it. That's my elevator speech, 2 cents, whatever.
Okay, so if I'm hearing council correctly, you guys want me to put together the same thing that I did with Pam for every person on the administrative side. I'm not going to do the police side. Put that together for them, and look at the resources that we have to cover that. How I believe a wage analysis needs to be a part of that to make sure that in benefits is another part of that. One of the reasons why Bill is leaving is because he won't have to pay co-insurance. We pay 20% out of pocket here. He doesn't have to pay that at all where he's going. And he'll be making more money. So It's not always the wage, sometimes it's the benefits that are included, you know, and whether or not we can provide that, how we would go about doing that.
But I think step one is to do an evaluation of every positions that's here. I probably would not ask the employee what what they do, because you might put some extra in
What
there,
are the
you know.
expectations
The
for each
expectations of-
position?
You want some input from the employee.
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. I would like to know what each position is, what's the expectation for each position, and then we can come back to what the employee thinks that they should be doing. But I want to know first, what is the expectations? And then when you ask an employee, you can bump it up to each other, because maybe you two are on two separate pages of what they're doing.
Right, how can you evaluate
Because like
someone?
I'm looking at this right now, I'm looking at this, and I'm like, that's not necessary for you to do.
Right, but that's my point. I want to know what the employees are doing, so there may be, I mean, Sue probably doesn't know what every single
Sue
employee
needs
is
to
doing.
know what every employee does
I
under
agree.
her umbrella.
I agree.
I want to see a job description for each person that is employed by Lathrup Village under the administrative side. I want to see that completely written out, and then if you want to go back on the next step and say, hey, whoever, what do you think your job is
I
supposed to do?
disagree. I disagree. I don't think we've had job descriptions over and over and over again for 6 years.
I'm not asking for a job description to go
Okay.
get it out of a book. I'm asking Sue for each position that reports to her.
Like this.
What exactly, but this came from Pam, and Pam put some extra stuff in here
Right.
that she doesn't need to do. So I'm asking for someone that, if someone's reporting to me, let me take it out of that. If someone's reporting to me, I know what the expectations are of this particular employee, what my expectations are, and what I'm going to judge that employee off of. So let's just say, for example, you need to go and visit 50 residents. You need to clear out see-click fix that falls under your department. This needs to be done every month. That's what the job description is, according to what I'm saying it is, based off this job description that is out there for you.
But
Does that
I
make
think
sense?
it's also very important to hear what the employee
Right.
is doing
I
every
never
single
said that
day.
it's not important to hear what the employees say. I'm saying let's start at first step. I want to see a job description as you see it, what they're doing, who reports to you, and what do they do. First step. What are you going to judge them off of when you do an evaluation?
Right.
That's the first step. Because honestly, I can't see, and now going back to this 3%, I can't see doing a 3% increase if there's no way to evaluate what anybody's doing according to what you think they should be doing. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Sort of.
We cannot go forward
I get that.
anymore saying we are short-staffed and I can't understand how we're not getting stuff done when I'm looking, and this is I appreciate this so much because we went from 2017 to 2020 with only 8 people and we got stuff done. And then we get to where we have 10 people or more and we're not getting stuff done. What happened? So that's my personal thing, is I want to see what the expectation is for each person that works there.
We are doing more stuff too, though.
Well,
You said
I
what?
mean, infrastructure, roads, there
I'm
are,
just asking
God,
for
we're
just
not
the
doing
basics.
basic
I'm really
stuff.
just asking for just the
Those are
basics, so we're all,
time-consuming
we've been asking for this ever since, I don't know
well, in
when.
February, I was told job descriptions didn't matter, so, you know, yes, they do, and we can't evaluate people if we don't have them. I'm
Well,
sorry,
just to be
finish,
clear,
Kelly.
council
No, I'm
does
good.
not evaluate my staff. I evaluate my
We
staff. You
absolutely,
evaluate
but we don't know
me.
what
You're the
you
ones that approved
evaluate them
3% for the
Right.
increase, so I just
No,
want.
I get that. I'm not arguing that portion of it, but I don't want anybody thinking that they will be evaluating my staff, because that is not
I never
council's
thought
role.
that. I'm
So-
saying
Yeah,
strictly for you.
I
never
think we
said that.
understand that, yeah.
That's not at all, but I would not think that we're evaluating your staff. I think that we are gonna approve or not approve the 3% increase. And then for me personally, I think I need to know what's going on. Let me take it back even further. This keeps me up at night, to know that something's not right with the city and I don't know what it is. And so let's start here to figure out, is everybody doing the right thing? Is everybody doing the job that they were hired for, basically? Is this is their job description, or this is the job expectation? That's even better, not description, the job expectation. And then you go through that. And then you can, if you wanna go to the employee and say, tell me, does this align with what you do every day? They can say yay or nay, and then you all can right size it at that point.
And we can
Minor
also have
disagree-
input into not the specific person, but does this align with the goals of this council and the city? It's not just random things. I also have a major concern. Repeatedly, we've been told that staff is underpaid and all of these things, and go to training, go to MML. I reached out to MML to get a salary, to be able to evaluate salaries to see where we stand. And I was told that I couldn't get that information because Lathrup Village didn't even bother to participate in the survey, and they don't even have our information.
Well,
So they told me
consider-
I could do it. I started entering some, and I thought, well, this is ridiculous. But if we're supposed to use this as a tool to be able to judge where do we fall throughout Oakland County or the state, we need to have that information. And if we're not even participating in the survey, how can we compare what's happening here with what's happening in other places?
Consider where you were at a year ago. Staffing-wise, interim, overload. You know, it was very difficult at that point in time.
We were at 10 people, it looks like.
Regardless of that, who was your administrator? Or administrators? And was that really part of their purview that they understood that, hey, you need to go out and get this information? No, they didn't. They were trying very hard to keep the city running and moving forward, and they did a stellar job. But
Susan, you've been here for almost a year, and you repeatedly say they're underpaid, we need to increase this. When you compare them with other communities, why did you not know that information wasn't out there?
the newest cycle, I was on the old one. The newest one just came out, and I don't have access to the old one. So I am in the process of filling out, you have to fill out a new one every single year. It's not something that you do once and you're done. So I'm in the process of filling that out so I can get that information to bring back to you. It's not something that I'm not participating in, but
Well, again, it's really difficult to make these kinds of decisions when we don't have the information to be able to.
can I bring this
Do
back
it.
to you on the 26th?
That would be,
Absolutely.
So to come back off that tangent, minor disagreement and approach aside,
I didn't
the
realize
one thing I want to make sure that is not lost in that, in kind of the debate back and forth is that, the job descriptions that you come up with, I mean, they do need to be quantified though. So, I want to see, at least personally, for example, to use the example here for Pam, tax season prep, 400 hours. Assessment, board of review, 50 hour. I mean, I want to be able to see and able to quantify, how much time is she spending in a given year, and how much time is Jessica spending in a given year, and Bill and everybody else, because that gives us, adding that all together says that's the amount of resources we need that we can then, compare against how many people do we have, and do we need more? And what people do we need? But I think there needs to be a quantification, alongside with the job descriptions. And I want to make sure that piece doesn't get lost.
DDA treasurer isn't, well, never mind, that's part of just a job. But isn't that also paid from DDA? Was this to
I-
justify a 3% raise? What
No,
was the
I
purpose
asked
of
for the
this?
staffing and the salary discussion because we're losing people
Oh, okay.
too frequently. And also, just some of the things that are not getting done. And the reasoning behind it is we're short-staffed. And so now I'm asking for the description, and I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think of any job that I've ever been in where they ask me what I've done, what do I do? There's not. Do you get what I'm saying by that?
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but this document I do feel is helpful.
It is.
So I feel like we can start with what you're requesting, but I think she should also bring us this document too, because it can. So we're not just keep coming back to the same table.
So this is
but
what I would like. I would like to
it's
see
a,
what
I'm
the-
saying it's a compromise. that's
It
all.
is. I want to see what each person does according to what you think they should do. This is great, and it also needs to show how many hours they spend on each one of these items, what can be moved to someone else. And then, I think that's when we can go from there.
Right, and maybe a percentage of what amount of time is spent, like, does resolve issues with Blue Cross Blue Shield, someone to cancel the policy, like, does that happen on a weekly basis, on a?
Well, the
That happens on a
Monthly
monthly
basement
basis with
is,
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Right,
It's an ongoing thing with
Okay,
them.
well, that's.
But if everything's quantified, it's simple to come up with a percentage of, for each task of what it represents as a percentage of the job.
So all this is, we would like it at the June 26th meeting. Anything else for this? You talk to Scott.
So I did have a brief conversation with Scott. There's honestly not a ton more detail to add, but so Sunset, so generally, I mean, I understand what Councilwoman Miller is saying in terms of, is it a replacement and for already approved projects? And so what this is really look at it more holistically, right? This money is applied within the entire project. But the county requires us to name a specific street that's part of the overall paving activities for the year, right? So Sunset was specifically chosen because it is it's a very large street. It's an arterial that does serve the business in residential quarters. So the economic improvement, the improvement of the economic vitality of the city and that particular area is heightened, so that's why Sunset was called out. We could have picked any other street that is part of the paving project. So we did talk about last year, and the funds, how this is, we apply in the spring for fund, like we applied in spring of 2023 for funds to be used for this in 2023 for these projects, right? So last year we applied these funds towards the project work over on California. The year before we applied it to work being done on Santa Barbara. So these funds they are a supplement to what we've already budgeted. I mean, it does free up additional, frees up some funds to do additional work. So that's essentially the gist of our conversation. I'm not sure if that necessarily answers the questions that that you all had, or not.
And I apologize. There was a motion on the floor during that one, and I totally blew that one. I apologize.
Technically, it's still on the floor, I guess.
Yeah, we're supposed to table it for a second. I apologize. I have no questions. No further questions. Anyone else have any further questions?
No.
Okay, so then now you can just take roll call.
Councilmember Miller,
No.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Canes,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Next,
Can I ask, can someone check with the county tomorrow to see if it makes any difference about the specific road? That it's already been done and whatever?
Sue, can you check with the county?
Yep, I'm writing the note right
Okay,
now.
thank you. On to the 2023-24 fiscal year draft budget.
Okay. It's been the bane of my existence lately. I'd had document that I sent out to you guys, and then Scott McKee informed me that I forgot a couple of things in their department. So as we talked about, if you go to the very last page of the document,
What's the page number?
it's, well,
179.
it's your very last page in your packet.
179.
Yep, it is the capital acquisition expenditures accounting, where the breakout is. So I removed the original things that were in there because they were all under the $5,000 cap. And technically, capital funds or capital acquisitions should only be for things that are 5,000 or over. So we talked about moving that and creating an IT component, a technology component in their departmental budget, and moving those items to that. And then putting on there the GTAC body camera cloud storage that they need each year for the body cameras that they wear, and their GTAC in-car video systems for that, which are $25,200. So this is something that took that and moved us from 41,600, whatever that was, to 56,000 for capital acquisition. So not only did it touch that, but you see the number of highlighted things. There was like 12 different areas, 12 different pages that I had to go through and make sure that all of those were updated as well, that reflected
So
those
on
changes.
this particular page, it's supposed to be how much?
56,000.
Right, because this
It still
doesn't
says
have either of
41.
those.
Yeah, it has 41,300 still on it.
In the new packet?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was sent out?
Yes.
Yes, not updated.
Yeah, it didn't have the 58 or the 25
You
too. It
had to
also,
refer back to page 35 to find out where the differences were.
yeah, it also didn't have the 15,000.
I just sent that to you. You guys got the second one that I,
I just printed this one up.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
printed this up this afternoon.
oh, I apologize.
Yeah, the 15,700 that went in the expenditures also didn't make it in there.
Well, I know it's in there because I have the new thing printed in my
Well,
packet,
the one that we
but,
have, it's not in there.
yeah, I apologize. I wish you would have let me know that because I was here till 11 o'clock on Friday night trying to get that up and done. So I do apologize for that. But I will walk you through and tell you where those changes are at. So on, I don't know the number in your booklet, but if you look beside that, there's another page number that's listed there. If you look at page 13, that will show you in the middle of that the public safety amount increased $15,700. The new amount is $158,804. And I will send the new packet out to you immediately after the meeting tonight to make sure that you have that.
Cal, this is the
Wait a
one that was
minute.
printed off the website?
Yes.
So this is the packet that's on the website?
I will send you the one from my files
Oh,
that
okay.
I have
Okay.
to make sure that it is there.
Okay.
That you have and I will change it on the website as well to make sure that you have that. Page 14 was also updated to update the fund balance graph that is there. So previously, we had roughly $20,000 in the good. Now we're down to $4,712. But it's still to the good, so it's still a balanced budget. Whoopee, yay, woo. And page 18 shows the differences. I've included the DDA amount of $879,256, and then changed the public safety amount from $2,559 or $59,060. So the total amount is $12,857,841, as that's all gone through. It's a decrease, page 35. Is your general fund. So going through that, we have general fund revenues are expected to be $5,090,219, and that is a decrease of $10,847 from last year's budgeted amount. Page 36. Previously, one of the things that helped to increase our revenue just a little bit was, I started looking in our revenues and seeing, we always try to be very conservative in our projections for revenue because you just don't know how much is going to come in. And one of the areas where I had just a few lines down almost to the middle is sidewalk permits and repairs. We've already to this year, we're over 350,000 and I had only budgeted 200,000 going forward. So I felt confident to bump that up another $50,000 and add that into the revenue stream. So that did help to offset our negative balance that we were showing.
What page of the packet is it? It's not
36.
36.
You
Oh,
got, it's on,
71.
yeah, 71.
Yeah, if you look at the little numbers right to the next of it, that should give you the packet number. Oh, I'm sorry, you probably can't see that on your thing there. I'm sorry, Karen.
No, I can see it, I just,
Okay, and then
I'm trying to
pages
follow.
35 and 47.
What was it, 35 and 40? I'm sorry, say it again.
Yep. Page 35, you can just go to 47 because it's just the expenditure. So let's go to 47, the general fund expenditures. Your total expenditures are $5,085,506. Again, that's a decrease of $217,443 from last year or this current fiscal year's projected budget numbers. And it also updates the graphs that are located on the additional pages following that, pages 46 through 51, which I don't have the number in front of me from the online version.
Can you just read off the title or something? That would help.
Yeah, it's the general fund expenditure. It's the
Page
graph that
83.
has the pie chart with it
I mean,
and the bar
82.
charts and.
Page
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm on the same page. You mentioned some different pages. Go ahead, Sue.
Okay, all right. And then it shows us with an anticipated surplus of $4,712 when all of that is said and done. Under government services, I have page 57. I don't know if you want to
It'll
say.
be 92.
Page 92, okay, so this is your government services. The expenses are, those haven't changed from the last time that we met together. Other than the one thing I wanted to bring out was that there was a question raised about repayment to the water fund for unfunded pension. And just to clear up that this is not an operational expense, but rather a liability. Funds are moved to the general fund, or from the general fund to the water fund at the end of each fiscal year to cover that, and we have 2 years left in that repayment plan. So it's not something that has to show up in this, it's just part of that repayment plan.
it doesn't show up as a liability somewhere?
It shows up as a liability. I didn't ask Pam on what page that is on, but that is part of that, and I will ask her. Okay. And then on page 58, which is page 98 in your book, is that, it's the next one?
93.
93. Previously, some of those lines were off in the previous budget, so I went through and I made sure all of those tracked back to their correct numbers where they should be, so all of that has been corrected. Moving to administration, that's on page 63 in the printed book.
98.
Expenses for administration are $898,504, which is an increase of $3,646. This lower is number than the previous draft because one position was included. The utility billing and accounts payable, instead of being combined in one line under the administration, and then it should have been 50%, it showed each of those at 50%, and then they were split out as 25% and 25% under water and sewer. So there was an additional 25,000 or 26,000, whatever that was there. So I pulled that money out So that helped to offset some of the revenue stream to increase that as well, because that was caught, that had been included twice. Election costs, you know, we increased that 50,000. The wage increase of 3% has been included in the amounts that are before you, and is still, it represents $16,633 increase in wages. And then after if you go past the next page, which is the org chart, then the following two pages break down what the pay structure is for each of the positions on the administration side, and their breakdown of all departments between administration, building and grounds, public safety, public services, recreation, and downtown development, major streets. Not that there's, well, there are wages in those, but under the major and local streets, that is part of my salary, actually, as oversight of those. And then water and sewer. And then on the back side of that, page 66, so I'm not sure of your number.
101.
101. It shows the breakout between, for those employees or those positions that have more than one department that pays for their wages. So it shows that breakout, what that is. Under public safety on page 73, it's updated the numbers that are in there, and then going forward to pages 76 through 79. Or I'm sorry, it should be, well, yeah, 76 through 79, updates the graph that is there, and then it includes that technology line, which is where I believe motorcycle lease used to be. So now it is the technology line for $15,700, and that brings that up to the $2,559,060 for that page. And then the public safety department represents over 50% of our general budget and general fund budget, and there's $95,465 between wages and fringe that are required by the union contract. There's an anticipated increase of $35,469 for the fire, EMS, and dispatch contract, which I have a meeting coming up with them tomorrow afternoon, so I will keep you apprised on that. And then the addition of the $15,700 for the technology. Public services on page 85. I don't know if you want me to go through the rest of these things because they're the same as what they were, other than on recreation. On page 92, we'll go right over to that.
That's 127. 126.
I did increase the amounts for the senior activities, children and youth activities, and community events to $5,000. So each of those are increased because we did have additional funds to put back into that. And again, you know, trying to work with the community for ways to be able to get everybody to pull together and organize and create events is going to be very necessary given the funding that we have right now. And let's see. Major streets and local streets, all that I did to them was initially we were transferring $500,000 in from the street fund or the street bonds, and I've lowered that to $300,000 to be more in line with the types of projects that they will have going on those certain streets. That's more in line. And if we find that we need to amend that, we can certainly do that going forward. So going to the water fund, I did list out the streets that have the water main projects. for the $434,000, just so that that's part of that, and you know what those are. It's on Avila, Roseland, Redwood, and Talpa. And that's part of that match that we'll have to have going through Congresswoman Tlaib's office to be able to do those projects, the community projects that she had listed or that we applied for. And then down at the bottom, the capital improvements just lists out what the differences were for updating
What page are you on?
I'm sorry,
35. 35?
sorry, it's 35 here. It's in my little notes that I'm following.
So
So
we
that
were-
would be
Packet 35.
all the way to
Packet
page
35.
143 to 144. It's the last few pages in your, document. I apologize. But to, it is the last page, actually. That's that $56,000 for capital improvements, that the administration amounts were kept the same, but the public safety ones were updated to remove those smaller items to put on the departmental budget, and then to include the GTAC body cam and the in-car video systems. So now I'm ready for your questions.
I'll go. One question, just an overarching question that I want to ask again. I asked it when Pam was here and kind of got a, that's what they told us kind of thing from I guess, the state or the county. But I'm still confused as to why our millage rate has dropped, because our taxable value has gone up by, what was it, 10, 12, 13%, 155 million to 176 million. And my understanding of Headley is if your overall taxable, I know there's other contributing factors that mitigate that, but you know, if you have an increase in your overall taxable value, the millage rate falls accordingly to ensure that you don't get more revenue. The only reason why I'm bringing this up again is just kind of due diligence, because what I would really hate to see is that, you know, we get, you know, into July and August and we find out that our millage rate actually should have been lower than what it is. So is there a possibility we can get a definitive answer to that question?
We have submitted the L429 to the county, and that has been approved through the assessing, through the county there. But part of that, in the assessing world, property taxes, because of the economic downturn and the increased, or the inflation, all of that, every community in Michigan was allowed to increase rates at 5% for their taxing rates all across the board with Prop A. And then, you know, that was the number when you did the worksheet and you followed what their formula was. That was the number that we came up with, and the assessor at the county confirmed that. So if we were incorrect, the county would have caught that for us.
Well, maybe the state made some type of accommodation because of
And
economics, that they weren't dropping the
right,
rates.
it's across the state.
Okay.
So.
All right, so that was one question. A lot of the questions I had were because the numbers in your memo didn't match the numbers that
Where's
we
this?
had.
Why is that?
And of course, those run through the whole budget, so I'll
Yeah,
see
sorry.
those, but I did have a few others. One thing I wanted to point out on page 65 of the packet, I think it's just worthy pointing out, because we started talking a little bit at I think at our last couple meetings about, you know, the possibility or the need of a Headley rollback
Yes.
or a, you know, public safety millage.
What page is that? Does it say?
65 of the packet, 30 of the
30.
of the budget document. I think the one thing that's interesting to look at here is the total millage rate is 61.5303. And when you subtract out of that the road millage, that takes us down to 57.6. And by law, you can't have higher than 59 mils. So that really gives us would only give us a 1.4 mil possibility for a Headley rollback. So that's something to consider as we talk about
Right.
the possibility of that versus public safety in the future. But just wanted to, I thought this chart made it kind of interesting to kind of point that out.
Yeah, I thought that that would be interesting to include that, and hopefully everybody understands, by stipulating or signifying the top three in red, that those are city operations, and that the city makes up 45% of that, but, likewise, 45 cents of every dollar stays in Lathrup Village. 36 cents goes to the schools, to Southfield Public Schools, and then the rest of it goes off to other things in the county. So just so that everybody is aware of that, we don't keep dollar per dollar on the taxes. Those are split out into other things, and I wanted to be able to show that a little clearer.
Yeah, and then on page 157 of the packet, 122 of the document.
Page what of the packet?
157 of the packet, 122 of the budget document.
Okay.
Under replacement reserve, so about the 6th or 7th line down.
Can you just start giving out titles?
I don't know, because this is like frustrating.
Summary of revenues, water fund.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So one thing I did notice is that you did drop the water loss ratio. I've never understood why that number was so high, even in good years before the water loss rate started. If you go back and look at the old budgets from a decade ago, they were still using a really high number.
Yeah, I took it down to 5%.
Yeah, so I think that makes total sense, so I appreciate the fact that you did that. The one thing I did notice, though, is on the replacement reserve revenue, if you multiply the capital reserve rate of $9.25 times the new adjusted number, the 20,045, it's slightly off of what you have. It's about $3,000 or $4,000 off of what you have. So it should be about $185,416. So you're a little bit low there.
Okay, I will look at that.
Yeah, and
I'm following the formulas that are in the spreadsheet, but I'll look to make sure that that's correct.
yeah. On page 174 of the packet, 139 of the document, and the title is Debt Service. It looks like the sewer SRF may be double counted. So if you look at the first line in the table, sewer capital improvement bonds, so it's 123,917. So that's the addition of of the table on the next side, the next page, of the 82,113 and the 41,804. So if you add those two together, you get the 123,000 number. But then you have the SRF bond listed out separately on the next line for 41,804. So the 41,804 is in there too.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so take that one.
I'm not sure which one, I'm not sure if we take the SRF bond out or you take it out of the first line in the document. I don't know which way is the approach you want to do it, but it just needs to not be double counted.
Okay.
Yeah, and everything else I had was a result of the wrong version.
I apologize.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a bunch of things. Page 42 in the packet, taxable value review, 10-year history. Why in 2022, 21 and 22 stayed the same? There was no increase? Do we know why that's the case?
What page is it?
7.
Page
7? Okay. It's because we didn't go down in the Headley rollback. We didn't come down from that. We're still at this year's, this year and the next fiscal year, the coming one, are both at the same, and that's been approved at the county, so.
I think she's
But that's
asking about
when-
this, the 10-year history of changes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not on the right page then.
The real estate market was going crazy
Yeah,
at that point.
Yeah, in 21 and 22, it's the exact same numbers.
Okay, I will look at that.
I had that circled as well.
Page 8 of the book, I guess. Under Headley Amendment, we've got headless rollback, which.
Oh. Wait, you don't want a headless rollback?
Exactly.
Headley, okay.
And then in the Headley override, it says, "Council is strongly encouraged to ask voters to restore the millage levels to the original authorized levies of 20 mills for operations and 3 mills for refuse. Another option, council must consider asking voters to pass a dedicated 3 mills for public safety that would help fund the police department and offset budget losses. The additional 3 mills for the police department would raise an additional $516,000 to the general fund annually." Who's it strongly encouraging us to do that?
I'm strongly encouraging you.
Okay.
Because we can't continue going forward. You have to look at the level of service you want to provide as opposed to the staff you have to provide that level of service, and then what are the resources that are going to make that happen. If you want to continue to provide a certain level of services and have the staff to do that, you have to have that revenue stream. And looking long-term, I don't see that continuing to happen unless values go up. You know, everybody sells their home here in Lathrup Village and somebody else buys it and the caps come off. You know, I just don't see that happening. So realistically, you guys have to be looking at alternative ways to continue to operate the city.
Okay, well, before we would approve that recommendation, I guess we do need to get the other information to see where we can, you know, anywhere we can trim.
Well, that's not approving anything, that's just a suggestion, you know, that you guys consider that doesn't.
Right, I didn't mean right now. Page 10 of your book, 45 of the packet, Southfield Road construction. The RCOC completed the environmental assessment for the entire Southfield Road corridor. The environmental assessment has been presented to all boards and commissions in Lathrup Village to include public presentations at City Hall. I haven't seen an environmental assessment in the last year and a half that we've been on. Where is that available? And
That was done a few years ago, wasn't it?
The environmental assessment was submitted last, I want to say May, to the feds for their review. And it kind of bounces back and forth between the Federal Highway Administration and MDOT for their comments.
is there a copy of that available somewhere on our website or
I
anything?
believe the draft is online on our city website, you know, the
Okay.
Southfield Road project.
Okay.
We had public meetings leading up to that, but the work is,
I know,
you know,
it's
they're
20,
slow.
I get it, I just wasn't, it just said,
This was pre your being on council when that was held.
right, but it, you know, it's something that we're talking about and something that's gonna be possibly unfolding in the future, so I just wanted to know where that information is, because it says it impacts business development and property redevelopment, so I will look on the website. Page 11, 46, major and local streets. The council recognized the need to start setting aside funding for the upcoming street project for westbound 11 Mile Road. Grant applications have been submitted, but simply does not have enough traffic on it to qualify for grants. And therefore, it is still prudent to continue setting funds aside to address the work that needs to be done. I know we're responsible for 11 Mile Road. Who determines that this work needs to be done? Is there some entity that said you have to pave this road? Is it something that the city council determines? Who determines that this work needs to be done?
I think ultimately the citizens and people that drive on that road complain, you know, that there
Well,
are
I
things
think,
on
I
that that
think
need to
this
be done.
particular, the 11-mile one may be tied with the 696 project.
Yes and no. I know that there's some of the things that come off from that
'Cause
that
that was-
tie into.
I mean,
and
that was
that's-
the thought, was the infrastructure and stuff that was gonna be replaced at that time.
Right. And that we would want to have that funding set aside so that we could make those improvements. But it's like an onion, it has lots of layers to it. So you have the road commission that is responsible for, or MDOT that's responsible, maybe you'd be better to speak to that it has lots of different layers coming into it. So some of the talk that we've had is the city just doing the lanes that we are responsible for, which may spur on the other entities to correct or improve their lanes going forward, rather than the city trying to do everything or working together with them. If we can at least ways get our lanes improved, then we can do that. But because we don't have the amount of traffic that travels on them, like 12-mile road has tons and tons of traffic on it, but 11-mile road, if you need to cut across, it's a lot easier to go across 11-mile, well, until 696 gets ramps closed and stuff like that. But when we have applied for funding for that, it just doesn't come through. So that's why the city has to continue setting money aside.
Okay, but it just says that the FY 2023-24 budget does not include a transfer to local streets. I know we were making transfers to local streets, so are we setting this money aside for future work on 11-mile road at the expense of the many, many, many streets that need to be addressed in Lathrup Village?
No, we're doing local road work with local funds that we have, and that money that we transfer can either come from the general fund or it can come from major streets. There's a portion of that you can transfer over to that.
Right, but why are we not doing that when we have a great need in the community? Who has made the decision to not do that?
That's council.
I can provide some insight, but last time I tried to do this, you chopped me off at the head. So if you want some insight, I can answer both of the parts of both of those questions.
Sure.
So the decision, council made the decision to start trying to bank money in the major road fund for 11-mile based on the recommendation of the city engineer, because the city engineer felt that at the time, that we had around 5 years plus or minus before we go from the situation of where 11-mile can be resurfaced with a mill and fill versus getting so damaged that it needs to be reconstructed, where the cost will jump up by probably more than double. So the idea was, when we put the millage in place, was that we would start banking some of our Act 51 money in the major category, so that balance grows, so that when we get to the point where we need to do it, we have the money to be able to do it. So that's how that was decided. Council also decided around the time of the millage that because we're going to be pulling $5.4 million, I think it was, from the voters via the millage into the local roads, that we didn't need to continue to do the 1 mil transfer that we would normally do that would fund the annual summer road project. Because we have $5.4 million and we are essentially funding 3 years of work. So for those 3 years, we did, or I should say we did not transfer the 1 mil because it wasn't really necessary.
But now 2023-24, we don't have our road bond anymore.
Right. And
So who decided we weren't going to transfer it again?
well, that was Sue's suggestion in the budget.
Okay. Can we take another look at that? Also, that same page, street improvement bond millage, talks about the miles of road completed, then it says 3650 lineal feet of water mains have been replaced with 4230 lineal feet proposed and 11,460 lineal feet of sewer lines. Wasn't that covered in the capital improvement bond, not the street improvement bond?
Yeah, this is stuff that they have been replaced. And in 2023, That's through this fiscal year. Going forward, another 11,460 feet.
I understand, but money was paid for the roads out of the road millage. Money was paid for the water issues, sewer issues out of the capital improvement bond. It looks like both things have been combined into this one heading.
I can separate those out if that's clearer for you.
Isn't that correct, Bruce?
Yeah,
Again, page 1348, it just says about a conscious decision by city council to reserve funds for the upcoming project on 11 Mile, so if we can look at that, as I said, of the other one.
I'm sorry, what page was that?
That was page 1348. Page 1449, education and training. We're, should be in budget cutting or budget tightening mode, so I'm concerned that we're increasing
What page is
the
that?
budget. 1449, city priorities.
Okay.
Education and training, so that was increased. And then also under collaborations, this year we contracted with Oakland County Water Resource Commission for the operations and maintenance of the sanitary retention tank. Didn't we do that a couple of years ago?
Okay, I will change that language.
Page 1550, code enforcement. The city hired a full-time code enforcement officer in January 2023. We actually hired a full-time code enforcement officer. Prior to that, we just replaced the person. They left and we hired someone else. DDA and city administrator continue to build alliances and relationships with our valued business and property owners. I would like to see, what plan is in place to reach out to valued business and property owners. Recreation, citizen-led events and activities will need to be the focus going forward until new or alternative revenue sources are generated to cover these costs. Again, maybe, take some of the additional training funds and put that towards recreation. Community engagement. The City of Lathrup Village adopted a public participation plan in 2014. The objectives include making information available in a timely manner to ensure that interested parties and community stakeholders have adequate time to be involved in decisions at various stages of the review and approval process. Going forward, we will continue to find creative ways to reach a diverse set of community stakeholders in decisions regarding planning, land use, and development. I haven't seen this public participation plan. Perhaps that's something that could help guide our communication strategies. I don't believe we've been, referring to that and the things that we're trying to put in place. So I'm not aware of that. So if we can have that
I've
public
never seen that either.
no.
Have you seen it, Scott?
I think it was part of our redevelopment ready communities certification.
Well, if it's a guiding document, we need it. Page 1651, with the certification as a redevelopment-ready community, the completion of the 2021 comprehensive plan, our 2010 zoning code, and the DDA's redevelopment plan, the city's path and intent are clear. I don't know what it is, so I don't think that is clear. And then in the conclusion, it is important now that the city council works closely with the city administration to be more proactive in identifying new opportunities and seeking solutions to address the future needs of the community. including long-term infrastructure needs, as well as determining what level of services are affordable and most beneficial to the quality of life in the city of Lathrup Village. The recommended fiscal year 2023-24 budget is based on the city's financial policies, the capital improvement plan, city council goals, and the city administration's comprehensive review of operations. So a couple of things. We were supposed to have a goal-setting meeting on Saturday. That got canceled because of flower planting. So city council goals have not been included in this, at least not the current city council. Also, we are supposed to be proactive and including long-term infrastructure needs. 3 weeks ago, I asked for information on water mains and on the Santa Barbara and the new section on Bloomfield, and the data that showed what the expected results were as far as our water flow, water pressure, and being able to put out fires. And I didn't get that information. So as I've been told multiple times, I did send a request for it, and I was told that I need to file a FOIA. So, you know, multiple times it's, you just need to ask for information, you just need to ask for information. I've asked for information, I shouldn't have to pay for information that we need to be able to make sound, fiscally responsible decisions. Page 1853, we're doing the annual appropriations resolution, and you're asking for $879,256 towards the Downtown Development Authority. We have not gone over that budget. I know it was said that it was put in our packets. It was not put in our packets. So I think we need to have a discussion about that before approving that large amount. And that amount is actually about 30,000 more than the last budget I found in the DDA packet from last time. So if we can have more information on that. I think that's it.
Anyone else? I do have a question about the 3% performance, excuse me, 3% increase. And I don't know how we would actually go about it. I don't have a problem with giving where it is merited and where it is deserved. I still believe, and I'm gonna keep pushing for, the only way that people will get the 3% increase is based off of, that is performance-based with a written evaluation for justification of why they should get the increase. I don't think that that's far-fetched. I think that that's in line with most jobs that you prove, or you go over what you've done for the year and then you get your raise from that. But I don't know what that looks like in sense of you have to approve the overall budget now, or do you come back? I don't know what that looks like and how you go about that. So that's a question to whoever would like to answer that or feedback.
Well, it's something I can try to do the evaluations for everybody prior to the 26th meeting and come back and tell you my thoughts, or what my evaluation shows. Not that you can see the evaluations because it's not council's role, but what my suggestions are based off those evaluations. And worked really hard to get that accomplished prior to the 26th.
Why did you raise it from 2%, which we were concerned about, to 3%? What was the impetus for that?
Because we had money available. We keep losing people, and cost of living is over 8%, increases, and we don't even pay most of our staff competitive wages. So
And is that information available?
I will bring that to you on the 26th so that you have that. You look around at job descriptions in other communities, we talk about it on the manager's listserv, but you want data that proves that, I will bring that to you.
Do you have an evaluation prepared already? Do you have an evaluation sheet that you give them already?
Yes, I do have that. I've not given it to them yet, but yes, I do have that.
And does the evaluation, do you automatically get 3%, or do we evaluate you again? How does that piece work?
Well, I included me in that, but you guys approve, or you can't take away anything out of my salary, but,
Right,
you know, you can make a determination on what you want to move forward with. I'm just trying to put the numbers in there so that you see proposed where this would put us.
Scott, do you by chance have an answer?
I would my recommendation would be to, and this is probably more of a question for Pam, but would be to allocate it via the budgeting. It's a lot harder to create money for raises if you've already allocated that money elsewhere.
But see, that's where my question is. I guess we have to wait for Pam to come back, is because once we approve it, then the money's there and we have no control over who gets raises or not. And I get that we might not pay competitive wages. That may or may not be the reason why people are quitting. We really don't know. We as a body don't know why. Now, I don't know if you know why people are quitting, but we don't truly know. So I guess we just have to wait till Pam comes back, because I pause to just give that approval, because then you just move it forward. There's nothing that's.
What happened with the 5% last year?
You know what I'm saying? But I don't know what that looks like. So I guess all of this is on hold until Pam can come and give us the information.
I don't know that Pam's going to say anything different than that. I think, once the money is allocated somewhere in the budget, if it's not in administrative
Or it's
wages
a
and
different line
salary,
item.
Yeah,
fringe
a lot of
benefits,
places it could
then
go.
yeah.
And then, so you're saying if we allocate the money somewhere else, but if we say we do approve everyone for 3%, then we can just
You can do a
make an
budget amendment too.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get the answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what it would have to be, unless unless you're allocating it into another area that's then going to rely upon that allocation and spend that money for, as part of their.
Or it could just be surplus, that you have the general
I
fund.
mean, it's about there's roughly 16,000
A little over
in wages that
16,000.
you would have to, increases that you would have to put elsewhere, or I guess if you did.
Surplus.
I'm sorry, what was that question?
I said, or in surplus.
Yeah, or in
Well,
surplus.
that's
said.
the salary. We also pay benefits and all the other stuff too, so it's not just $16,000.
I think it's just talking about raising the compensation. I don't think there was any increase in the
Well,
benefit.
some of that
Yeah,
does
but
pay,
it automatically
it transfers over
increases.
into that. It's not health insurance that it affects or those things, but it could affect pension and life insurance, I think.
Taxes, all that stuff.
But I'm not sure that it affects life insurance either. Just pension, it would change that. And your FICA and those types of things, the taxes.
Well,
I have a couple questions.
go
Can I
ahead.
just ask? On page 87, 122, sidewalk maintenance. I see 300,000 projected for next year, and then going up for the next 7 years?
Yeah, it's a
I thought-
projection of like 15% each year. It's just an outward projection. It's long-term financial forecasting.
But I thought our sidewalk maintenance program was sort of wrapping up. I didn't know this was gonna be a continuing
These numbers will
project.
change every year. It's just a projection, you know.
Okay. And then on page 98 or 133, summary of proposed expenditures. This is all blank up here. Miscellaneous, TIF capture, what's all that? There's nothing in a lot of these. Transfer to funds, 0 under budget stabilization.
Yeah, for contingencies, we didn't have anything coming out of any of those. I just included it in the budget because that's how it has been done in the past. Capital reserves is the only thing that showed any movement.
Okay, and then on page 137 or 172, under retention tank, there's a category called contractual services that we spend 73,000 this year, 74, almost 75,000 next year. What is that?
That is the split out for Lathrup Services, our DPS. It's split out between general fund, your road, your sewer, and your water.
That's where it's coming from?
Mhm. And if you look back under Lathrup Services, where that's at in your booklet, I don't have it right in front of me, but that breaks out where all those costs come from, those cost allocations.
And we used to have somebody overseeing the retention tank?
Yep, the
And
Water
now who does
Resource
that?
Commission does that now for us through the county, the drain.
And what do we pay for that? Where do I find that expenditure?
Um,
And what- is
Yeah,
that in
it's,
this
it's in
budget?
the water and sewer charges, or the water and sewer charges. Mhm.
I'm looking for about 80,000.
I think it's about 8,000.
Can you see that?
Would it be, it'd be under sewer, wouldn't it?
Oh, sewer system maintenance?
Is it included in that, Sue, on sewer system maintenance?
I would have to look.
It's 273,000?
That sounds about right.
That could
And
be
it
other
used to be
things.
Sewer system
35?
maintenance.
No, I want to say it
that's-
originally started around, it was just under 100,000 when they first signed up, and I think that was 2018.
I'll look on that fiscal year 21, 22, make sure that that's a correct number there.
Yeah, plus, and then it says
This looks like-
actual as of 3/31 is only 38,000.
Yeah, but that could be that we haven't made that payment out to them yet. That amount is due.
Okay,
That's something we
so,
have to make.
so we pay monthly, quarterly, how's that paid out?
I don't know, I will have to look
Okay.
into that.
So it used to be about 100,000, you're thinking?
Don't quote me on that, but I think that was approximately, that's what the cost was. That was an annual cost. And it was done right around the time that Pam was the interim administrator for the first time, before hiring Mr. Potter.
Okay. Don't know if there was a else. I think everybody else covered what I was going to ask about.
I wanted to try to find that breakout of the cost for Lathrup Services for you.
Lathrup Services?
Yes.
170, or 171 of the packet.
I think that's the one I was on, and but it was under the
That's under
sewer.
sewer, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
I'm sorry, it was 2019. That was when we entered into that agreement.
Yeah.
If I go back to the beginning that will tell you. Okay, so page 82 of your printed booklet, I'm not sure what page that is in, or online, or in the packet.
Wait,
117.
82 of the packet? I'm sorry.
Yeah, page 82 of the not the packet, 117 of the packet.
117 in the packet, yeah.
Sorry, in the middle of the page, it shows the breakout between the different departments for Lathrup services
Okay, public.
and the percentages that are covered under each of those.
Okay, so, which one are they? Where's that 70,000? 74,
Yeah, 7488, it's both water and sewer, that's split evenly between the two of those. And then major and local is split the same, and then general fund gets the main hit.
okay, thank you.
So now I have a question on that page. Seeing that there's a 2% increase for Lathrup services, but we have a decrease of how many people are working for them. So what is the plan for the amount of personnel that they would have working for Lathrup?
They are working to hire additional people. They've been struggling like we have, with pay, to be able to get people attracted to the position. Dave is the only one who has the knowledge right now out there for most of the things that get done. So anybody else has to be trained, and there's a lot of things that he's locked into having to do because he's the only one who knows how to do it.
So what's his goal of how many people he plans on hiring? Because seeing that again is something else is saying that we don't have enough staff, but they want a 2% increase. I think that there should be some type of stipulation that you have X amount of people working for Lathrup to get things done in order to have this 2% increase.
I think I put the 2% in, they didn't ask for that, that's something that we've done across the board. Generally, it reflects whatever the wages are that we, or the increases are that we're doing. But I think we're gonna have to beef up that contract with him. I'll have that conversation with him. But it's not something that we can just say, provide us with more bodies and we'll give you 2% more. I don't think we're paying them enough as it is in order to get the services that we need.
Well, and I think more importantly too is do we get some kind of credit for the time that they are down resources? Because we're paying them a contractual fee, we're not
get
paying them
things
on a
done.
by hour. So
Right.
Yes.
if they're 2 people short, if overall it turns out that they're 3% short for the year because of resource staffs, do we get a 3% credit? Or whatever that number is, I'm pulling that out of the air.
I don't think the
for example.
contract is specific enough to do that. Pretty general in what their duties are supposed to be.
Right, but the contract specifies that they need to require 3 FTEs, and so if they're not living
Yeah,
up to
it's
the
so
3
many
FTEs, then we
minimum
should be
number
getting
of
something back.
hours.
Okay.
So I don't think that's, I agree that we need to know that before we agree to a 2% increase. So knowing that this is just a draft, this is not what we have to, I don't know, is this actionable?
Oh, I do, one more comment, sorry. Page 89, page 54. Under government services, line item definitions, under code enforcement, you have reflects the cost for training of staff and nuisance cuts. I don't understand that job description.
What page is
It's
that?
54,
Oh, 54, okay.
under code
It doesn't
enforcement.
sound like that makes sense, does it?
No. Oh,
Reflects the cost per.
Oh, you're on
Oh, okay.
I had to switch it to 89 because when I printed the other pages.
Okay, I will update that to make sure that it's got the right language there. Thank you.
So as a, what did I say?
No, I was just thanking her.
As it stands right now, this is, I'm assuming this is actionable, but I'm not sure what would happen if we take it to a vote.
What,
Yep.
aren't we
Well, I
supposed to approve
wasn't
the budget
asking.
in
Okay.
3 weeks?
Yeah, we
2
don't have to
weeks.
vote on it.
So this should not be under, it should just be kind of discussion. not-
Well,
because
it's
that's
just
what it looks
draft,
like. I
but,
get it,
yeah.
but it still looks like it's gonna be like, the staffing one says discussion, this one should have been discussion too, I guess. All right, anything else?
I guess just one question. So you've got all the changes from things we've given you tonight, plus getting us the new draft. Can we get a new draft, like say within a week or so?
Yep.
So that way we don't get it at the, 2 days ahead of time, or I'm sorry, 3 or 4 days ahead of time. And it gives us a little bit more of a comfortable pace since it is such a large document and it's complex.
Sure.
I would appreciate that.
Anything else regarding the budget? You'll have that out in a week. We'll have the updated amounts or something else. Oh, I forgot. You have it written down. Oh. All right, up to public comment. If anybody wants to speak?
Are we on Zoom?
No, we're on
No,
Facebook.
Facebook.
Gotcha.
Okay, Lori Coons had a question, a couple questions about the budget. How much does it cost us to have the police present here when we have council meetings? I don't know of any other city that has.
Lots do. But
So is that something that's really necessary that we have to pay for?
yes.
And also, when it comes to the budget, I believe we were supposed to sell Becker's motorcycle, and I was just hoping that deposit slip was somewhere accounted for. And regarding losing people from the office staff, I'm not aware that we've lost that many people. I think only 2. So of the people that have quit, do they tell you directly that you're not paying them enough money?
The one that just left said that he is getting a substantial pay increase where he's going. The benefits were the more attractive component, and it's 5 minutes from his house, so.
Well, he was a new addition and just recently lost, but I'm not aware of losing so many people.
Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've lost there's been a big turnaround of people here.
And they all say it's the money.
Quite a few of them have expressed that it's stress, it's council stress, it is just difficult to deal with here, so.
Okay, those were my questions.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, we go to mayor and council comments. First up, I appreciate seeing some things on Facebook, because that's how we can write some things. But know, if you have a question, you have a concern, that the right thing to do is either to write it on the citywide or the city-sponsored Facebook page, or email someone, councilperson or our city manager. But in saying that, is that I too did not know that there was a citywide garage sale that was supposed to happen this weekend, which I was disappointed in, because it's something that we have done every year. And some of the things that I read, I agreed with, that it was short notice. So that's canceled. And so we'll have a new one that is the weekend of June 23rd through 25th. And you still get the 2 free garage sale signs, and then we'll add you the list of the participants. please sign up at the front desk. You can also, I think just for accommodation wise at this point, you can even email any of us, and I'm taking the liberty to say this, email any of us if you want to sign up and you can't get up to City Hall. And this will be on our website, on the Facebook website, or Facebook, and then it'll be continuously in the e-newsletter. So hopefully everyone will sign up at that time. Also, we do have a new employee, which I'm going to assume that's it. I probably took the steam out of your soda to introduce the new employee.
Oh, that's okay.
So, and I forgot what she does at that fast. It was in here. And then it seems like there was something else that I can't remember at this time. I can't remember what else it was, and I thought I had it all written down, but that's it for me. Anyone else?
Just one thing, just, we've had problems with this the last 3 years during the road construction seasons. If there's a blockade that says road closed, stay off the road. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me how many problems we've had with people going around the road. We've already had to do some fixes because of it. It's just ridiculous that people are being impatient and inconsiderate of all of the rest of the residents and all the taxpayers who are spending their money to have these roads fixed, to have people go around the barricades and damage the brand-new roads. So if it says road closed, stay off it. You're not going to get ticketed if you park on an adjacent road and walk to your home. Just obey the signs, please.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I had a quick, just something quick. The Juneteenth event will be on Saturday, June 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I look forward to seeing everybody there.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And at the end of the month, June 30th, we will have a Taste of Lathrup fundraiser. And we are collecting donations. Bruce, thank you for your donations of photography. We have other people donating products that they make in their home. So look forward to that. If you have a donation that you'd like to contribute, let me know. And if you want to participate and show up, let me know.
Can you give that date again?
June 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. at City Hall. And that information will be in the e-newsletter as well.
Oh, and then this Saturday is Southfield Road corridor cleanup. Forgot about that, at 9 o'clock. Fun times. Anyone else?
Yeah, a couple of things. Regarding the road closure, if there's a major road closure, like Bloomfield was shut down, it would be great if that could be communicated to the residents in advance. And then also, I understand there was a fire this morning on California. And as a city council person, I think that we should be, that someone should let us know about something like that. I've been checking all day.
They did let us know. They let the city manager know, and they let the mayor know.
Okay,
That's what happened.
Okay, oh, I'm
So,
saying,
yeah.
I'm not talking about them, I'm talking about the city should let council members know, because that's kind of a big deal. And I understand there were several fire departments that had to come in, there was a problem with the fire hydrant. Is that a high fire hydrant that was fixed? Do we know what the
She's
situation
still working on it.
is
The
with
chief
that?
of fire
chief.
chief is still under investigation, correct?
Yeah, I don't know what the cause of the fire was. It's still under investigation, but I immediately sent that note to our DPS and to our engineer to have that hydrant looked at.
Okay. Well,
I'm
I would
waiting to hear
appreciate
back on that.
in the future being notified of those kinds of things. It's kind of important.
Oh, I do have one more thing. Are you done, Karen?
Yep.
Oh, I just wanted to mention, our neighbor had her car broken into, so I heard 2 more. So I
Be
don't
sure to
know.
lock your doors. That's
You
I
have to
the
lock,
biggest
you have to
thing.
lock your doors because it's not something, and Scott did send it out, the chief of police did send it out, is that, and I even read that on Facebook, that there's residents that oops, I forgot to lock my door. you don't give opportunity to people to do this. When I first moved here, my car was broken into, and this was during the day, and I didn't lock the door. So, I mean, it's just imperative for people to make sure that, you know, it's a beautiful community, it's a safe community, but the fact is the world is changing, and, you know, the haves, the have-nots are looking to get from the people they think have.
They didn't break into our 2010 minivan. So they passed us
I mean,
up.
and it's very, one thing I can say is that Officer Rose, which I guess I shouldn't be saying this on Facebook, but we're notorious of leaving our garage open, and she comes by at 3 o'clock in the morning, rings the doorbell. As irritating as it is to be out of your sleep and scared, then you see that it's the police at your door, and then you immediately say, okay, your garage is open. So they are out, you know, they're patrolling. But we do have a responsibility as residents to make sure we're securing our things. I hate that it's happening, but we also have a responsibility.
No, and it's a good reminder, lock your
Yeah.
doors.
Yeah. Anything else? Good of the cause. Today was and I apologize for the down dressing, or if you smelled outdoors up here, but I have been golfing with Michigan First for their annual fundraiser since 8:30 this morning. It was not over until 4 o'clock, but it is something that everyone is invited to do, to participate, sponsor. It's really a lot of fun, and maybe next year get more people out there.
We didn't know about it.
Yeah, do they
Had no
post
idea.
something? Do they have something in the newsletters?
They used to do it with the community foundation.
They still do it, the community
And
foundation, so I would probably talk to the community foundation president to make sure that we all know about it. I got invited from Plant Moran, so I'll be honest that that's the only reason I kinda knew about it, so. Anything else? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? Oh, you just say second, I'm sorry. Good night, everybody, thank you.